Welcome back to our BDSM 001 series. We're going to finally talk about the risk profile. So what's a risk profile? Well, I want you to sit down and, again, I have materials. In a future release, we'll have a risk profile layout. For now, it's as simple as just really thinking about the things you're going to be okay with. For example, and this is going to be why this is a BDSM 001, you have to understand what you're doing and the risks involved. So when you're negotiating, you should make it part of your negotiation to understand, especially if you're negotiating for scenes, what are the risks? Like if someone is going to do suspension for you, oh, well, one of the risks is that you could fall from ropes. Don't accept that. It's not one of the risks, it's what all the risks. So suspension can lead to problems being still with us. Because, yeah, if you fall on your neck, that could be very, very bad. You can lose problems, nerve, just from being tied up. Any bondage that's tight, and suspension can get tight, can lead to nerve issues. And suspension, especially because you will have your weight sometimes, almost all of your weight in certain nerves without even knowing it. And sometimes, even if they did it right, something will go wrong. A lot of people who do a lot of suspension, as a matter of fact, over the years, it's starting to gather that, yeah, this is dangerous, and even your first time could be really traumatic to your body. So you could have a disc in your back be bad that you didn't know about and actually wind up rupturing. There's a lot that can go wrong with suspension, even if the person does it right. So those would be the risks. So are you willing to risk being crippled? Are you willing to risk having permanent nerve damage? Are you willing to risk temporary nerve damage? And by saying what risks you're willing to take, it kind of will limit the amount of play. So if you want to do suspension, but you don't want to risk any of that, you would probably have to have a very simpler suspension. But there's always going to be a risk of pain afterwards, pulling muscles and things like that. And if you don't want any of that, you won't be able to do suspension. Sometimes by not having risks that you're willing to take, you're going to limit the amount that you're going to be willing to do, and that's perfectly fine. Some people might not want bruises, so impact play kind of has to either be done very softly with care or not done at all. Like, I wouldn't suggest canes for impact play if you don't want any marks. Marks are very easy to get with canes, but a paddle you can kind of play with. Not to say that canes always leave marks. There are ways to play with them that won't, but I think you understand where I'm going with that. So everything's going to have a different risk. So this is the important part to learn. Everything we do have risks, and you have to understand what those risks are. So when you understand what those risks are, you will be able to better judge for yourself what you're willing to risk. Every play comes with a risk. So when you're doing this, you have to really go through it. For example, I have said this is some type of play that could really impact your life and leave you potentially crippled. And this is how. Especially if there's anything to do with the spinal cord in the play. And then the person I'm negotiating with has to say, yeah, okay. And I've made some play is edge plays can be very dangerous. And I've said, you understand this is a risk? Yeah. No, I'm asking you, do you consent to knowing this is a risk? And that's something I need them to understand in play. So if something comes out later, they know that we went over it. I didn't mislead them. It's not a way, by the way, to not be in trouble. Oh, I told blah, blah. No. This is, you're in it. So if something goes wrong while you have someone suspended, you're still part of that responsibility. You can go back over it, see if anything went wrong. But if you're a good human being, it's still going to affect you. Even if you did everything right, it's going to be bothersome that something negative came out of a scene. So as a top, you have to understand the risks are on you too. So when you're doing all this, are you going to be okay if something goes horribly wrong and someone is crippled or worse? Is that something you really want to risk? Do you want to do an outdoor scene? Are you willing to get arrested for it? Because that could be an honest risk of an outdoor scene. You have to know the risks that you're giving. You could have held accountable to you. You could be held accountable, I should say, in a court of law. So are you willing to testify to a judge to what you just did? Because that's your risk profile. Don't think you don't have them, you tops. You do. And yes, we're going to go over the difference between a top and a dom. And because it's going to come up in one of the modules coming up. So stay tuned for that. If you have any more questions about this, feel free to ask. You're going to find this and much more information in the BDSM 001 playlist on our main profile page. And there'll be a bunch of playlists there. And this is the BDSM 001. We're always here to answer your questions. No question is dumb. Not asking the questions is dangerous, though. So feel free to ask them. Stick around, watch all the BDSM 001s and 101s, and continue to educate, learn, and be ready for what comes your way in this kinky world we live in.